Governments deny it. Militaries deny it. Even the mainstream media denies it. But they are here and they've been here for a very long time. The Mutual UFO Network has been on the front lines uncovering the truth since 1969. And now we're sharing that truth with you. Welcome to MUFON What's Up with your hosts, Katie Page, Shane Hurd, and Tara Diulis. Exclusively on the KGRA Digital Broadcasting Network. Wondering what's up? So are we.
What's up, everybody? It is another Tuesday night, the best night of the week, Tuesday nights, because I get to be here live with all of you and our special guests. You are listening to MUFON What's Up Radio, the show that says discovery starts with curiosity and curiosity starts with MUFON. Brought to you by KGRADB.com. I hope you go to their website and check out all their excellent shows and their great content. As always, we are endorsed by MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network, always asking that all-important question, are we alone in the universe? I am your host, Katie Page, the Colorado MUFON State Director and Mars Administrator. Plus, I do my own independent research and investigations out there. And I'm happy you guys are all here tonight. And boy, I mean, I'm kind of fangirling out here. We have an excellent guest for you tonight, and I am like super fan. All 5 books here. We have Christopher O'Brien here, and I can't be more excited to have him on the show tonight. He has just done incredible research out here on this very fascinating topic of cattle mutilations, etc., and all the high strangeness that goes with it. So I'm really looking forward to having Chris on the show tonight. I also wanted to mention in a couple weeks, I'll be flying to Virginia, and I'll be talking at the Mysteries of Space and Sky Conference, right here on October 21st, which is a Saturday in Maryland. And that should be a fun event. So if you're anywhere in that area, I hope to see you out there. That'll be a really fun day. So check it out if you can, Mysteries of Space and Sky. So let me go ahead and introduce my awesome, wonderful co-hosts. We have Tara Diulis. You can see Tara right here on Sky Tour Stream Live with Mark D'Antonio on KGRA. How you doing, Tara?
Hey, what's up, Katie? Hello, everyone. What's up? What's up?
Have you had a good week?
Yes, it's a nice week. So
that's good.
Yeah, weather's changing. It's really beautiful. So
that's awesome. Do you get the fall colors like we do here in the Rockies?
Up north we do in Arizona for sure, but not so much in the desert.
Right. So. Yeah. It's so pretty this time of year.
Okay.
And let's bring in, hi, Kathleen. Good to have you here. Yeah. Let's bring in Shane Hurd. Shane is the assistant take director for Arizona MUFON as well. How you doing, Shane? I think you're muted.
Yeah.
I was coughing earlier, so I wanted to mute.
Well, we appreciate that.
Good now.
How you been,
yeah, doing all right. But been busy, but who isn't? So
yeah,
that's right. That's right. And I know not to brag or anything. Not that Tara and I don't work hard all day long, but you're working a full-time job too. So I have to remember, like, oh boy, right.
Yeah, keep me busy for sure.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you taking the time to be here. I know you stay sometimes over at the office, and it makes a late night for you. So special thanks to Shane for being here.
Oh, good. Glad to do it.
Hey, Joe Fox. Glad you're here.
Joe. Hey, Joe.
So, Tara, what do you have to kick us off tonight?
Oh, well, great. Well, today's meme brings us to a landscape with a cow sitting under a tree. Only he's actually sitting on a teeter-totter with the low end on the ground. And up above him, from a branch above, jumps an alien onto the high end. And as the cow looks up at him, the alien shouts, sorry, the tractor beam's busted.
Isn't that appropriate with Chris being here tonight? That's hilarious. I don't think a little alien has as much weight as he needs to get him launched.
Yeah,
he's like, oh, brother.
I don't think so.
Dense mass on that alien. I don't know. The cow's just looking up. They're so patient, just sitting there. Oh my gosh.
I won't say it. I was going to say, maybe he doesn't have half a brain. I get into this argument with my kids. What do cows think? Do they? I don't know. We'll talk about that later.
I think cows think, we'll definitely talk about that. Well, there's a theme running today. So found in Etsy are all sorts of fun gifts featuring cow abductions.
Oh, that's
and there's
nice.
kinds of t-shirts and sweatshirts, all sorts of images. And then there's a beautiful stained glass with a UFO and a cow dangling in the beam. And I'm loving these stainless dangle earrings. Those are very fun. And the holidays are coming up. How about an abduction ornament? See the little blown glass cow at the bottom? I love it. So this awesome table lamp changes colors and has an alien inside at the top. It's gorgeous. Here's a beautiful charcuterie board, a fun item for the kitchen.
Oh boy.
I know. How about
You're making my Christmas list grow, Tara.
I am. I'm giving you guys ideas. How about a model kit that you can build and place the cows in the scene yourself? That's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Maybe you journal, and here's a notebook cover. You can illuminate your. Isn't that fun? You can illuminate your hallway with this fun night light. Here's a conversation starter: an alien abduction cow mirror. Or if you get the mirror, you might as well get the earrings to match, right? They're very
completely nuts. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Actually, I like this picture. It's a photorealistic large canvas of a cow caught in a beam.
That's sort of cool. Yeah.
It could be hung anywhere. And then lastly, after all this, if I were a cow, I might be worried about being abducted. So I think that's why you can always find them hiding during Halloween, dressed up as ghosts. Maybe the aliens won't recognize them. So you just have to look, and you can probably find it on Etsy, folks. So.
That is fantastic. Some great finds right there. That is so
Those are awesome.
So
I love that kitsch.
So Shane, last week you talked about a film, right? On Hulu.
Yes.
Did you watch it, Tara? That was our homework.
I didn't get a chance to, but I have it listed. I have it on my list.
What'd you think, Katie?
I loved it. The film was called They Won't Save You, or is that
No One Will Save You?
No One Will Save You. And I was so curious because there's no dialogue in the film.
Yeah.
And I want to watch it again. I absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, Chanel and I are going to watch it as soon as we can. So
okay. Well, we'll critique it when we can all three talk about it. But Shane, what do you have for Have You Heard this week?
Yeah. Have you guys heard? There's another really interesting UFO show that came out Friday, as a matter of fact, on Netflix. And it is an Amblin Entertainment, Vice Studios, and Boardwalk Pictures entry into Netflix. And it's a 4-part documentary. I was able to watch it over the weekend, and I thought they did a really good case. I'm not going to spoil it, but I will tell you about some of the interesting things on there. Again, it was like a 4-episode documentary. And the first one was called Messengers. And this was profiling the Stevensville, Texas case that occurred in 2008. And they just did a really great job in laying it out, talking to the right people. It's sort of the model where they'll do interviews and a little bit of a reenactment and some, CGI and stuff to help, to move the story along. And I thought they did a great job. Wasn't sensationalistic at all. It's very factual, I thought. And throughout each episode, they interviewed different experts. So one of our friends, Kevin Newth, was one of the individuals that offered commentary on the cases. And then there was also Robert Powell. So he was a former MUFON guy, and he's one of the co-founders of the SCU, which is that stands for Scientific Coalition of UAP Studies. So so they had some scientific review on it as they went. The second episode, which was one I was not familiar with, which I was kind of amazed at that, especially as significant as this one was. It was the Broadhaven Triangle. And Broadhaven is a town in the UK. It was a Welsh town. And over 450 people saw this big cigar-shaped UFO as first reported by a group of boys. And then it just spread like wildfire. And then the third episode, again, something I did not hear much about, was on Fukushima. And that there were UFO sightings immediately prior, and then obviously the earthquake and all of that happened. And they had some really interesting stuff on there I'd not heard. And then the last one was one that we're probably all familiar with, is the Ariel School from Zimbabwe, where I think it was over 60 or 70 students and teachers saw these things just, feet away from them. And this was the case where Dr. John Mack, a psychiatrist from Harvard, had went and interviewed all of those, and we just love that case, right? It's just it's so powerful.
Yeah, there's a twist on that because we watched the whole series just the other night, and there's a little twist on that 4th episode that I was not aware of, and I don't want to give a spoiler away, but there's another different alternative view on that case, and I was like, oh, really? I had not heard that before. So
yeah, me too.
By it, and it really made you think and take a different perspective and kind of weigh, like, you know. So I'm not going to give away what happened, but there was a new twist to that, and I really enjoyed that. You know what I'm talking about, Shane?
Yep, yeah, I do. I know. I don't want to spoil that either.
Oh, I want to know.
Oh, you gotta watch it, Sarah.
You gotta watch it. And then I read this one article that had kind of an interesting take on it. Kind of a review of it, and they had spoken to the director. His name's Jan Motzkin, and I thought this was really interesting because we've talked a lot about how the taboo has kind of been lifted since 2017, and we know that it has, and many people are able to come forward and speak, but it's not dead. The taboo is still there.
Yeah.
And this was an interesting comment he made. He said, I thought it would be really easy to get people to participate in this film series, and I was shocked at how hard it was to get almost everybody to agree on camera, to be on camera. He stated it was a traumatic event for almost all of these people, and that is something to consider, right? And so I realized by the end of that, we were trying to get people to relive a kind of trauma. Yeah. And, and then to some people, it was just sort of a stigma or shame where they're embarrassed and they don't want to be outed, so to speak, in their community. I think that's just so sad, that people are still, being held down by that, but it is true. And it just tells me to be more sensitive, about people and their experiences, and not, not putting them on the spot per se, and being a little gentle with them, and that's something we learn on the ERT as well. So
and we're still up against that, and especially these smaller towns have been doing some in-person interviews and stuff, and there's people that are like, I don't want to be on camera, I don't want my face out there because it'll ruin my reputation in this town. And it's still going on, and we have to be very sensitive to that for sure.
Yep, good point. So so that was about it. Just wanted to make that known to folks, and I highly recommend it. It's well done.
You want to show the trailer, Shane?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's show the trailer.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
The very first time I saw something in the sky, I really hesitated to say anything to anybody.
This is where it landed.
Half of it were lights. It was like
I was at one with whatever it was.
They looked like identical twins.
It had a very big head.
Cigar shape.
what it was. We don't know.
This was not a one-off event. These things happen all the time. They happen all the time.
Since the 1940s, we've been told by authorities and scientists that this is ridiculous.
There were over 60 kids that saw what I saw.
It had big eyes.
I think whatever people saw was intelligently controlled, and it was not manufactured by the United States or any other nation for that matter.
When I've started looking into these stories, we can get files from 30, 40 years ago that we've never been able to see.
They were tortured by the fact that no one would listen to them.
You try and live a normal life, you try and move on, but it just opens up doors again.
My relationship suffered. I suffered. I'm still on my quest. I will find out what happened.
We have to keep relearning that lesson that human beings are not the center of the universe.
Most people would say the question is like, are we alone? I think the question is, who are we?
And good question. Who are
Wow.
Who are we?
Why are we here? What are our purpose? Oh, sorry.
Depends on the day of the week.
we? Yep.
So, Tara, do you want to share your Mars case first, or should I go first? Which way do you want to go?
Oh, you can go first. Go for it, Katie.
Well, I have a very short one, so I could do mine super fast because I didn't look at all your images.
It's going to go pretty
see what
quick.
each other does sometimes. Like, I don't know until like the last minute. I'm like, oh, it looks like she has a good one.
Yeah.
And so I'm excited to see what you have to share. But since we have Christopher O'Brien on, I thought I'd go into the system and see what we have for mutilations. And this one is case 126358. It's a category 1 case. It occurred April 12th, 2021, 12:05 in the afternoon. And it's north of Tucson. So right in your neck of the woods, you guys.
Wow.
And the witness states that she saw an object. So she said this object was above us right at noon in a clear blue sky. It was dark in color and rough in texture, almost like the surface was made of panels. I was with my dad at the time, but didn't want to give his info. He is the one that first noticed it's moving west to east slowly. When I saw it, it appeared to have stopped. It disappeared as we were looking at it. I have seen other impossible lights out here at a property that borders state land north of Tucson. I have neighbors that have also seen objects here. We have also had cattle mutilations happen here. Parts cut off, very clean, no tracks or blood. I have those pictures. It happened in a narrow time window. So they saw this object in a small window of time. The mutilation occurred. The investigator was unable to do any interviews or gather more information for whatever reason, so it went in as insufficient data. But we have a couple pictures here. They're not overly graphic, but a little bit. So we always like to put up a warning that it may upset some viewers. But there's the one photo, and then there's the other. And it's really hard to tell from the photos. And this is something we can talk to Chris about, because unless you're right there in front of the animal, I think it's really hard to tell what's going on here. But so that's my case of the week. So yeah, it kind of brings up some questions I want to ask Chris about. But what do you have for the Mars case, Tara? Or what do you think for that? I mean, do you get a lot of mutilation cases there in Arizona before we move on?
I'll let Shane answer that. He's a little bit more in touch with those. I haven't seen any personally.
What was that? You mean
the mutilation cases in Arizona?
Yeah, I actually had one myself.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, and it was literally a mile from my house.
Oh my goodness.
And what was kind of interesting about it, I ended up concluding the most likely explanation was predation, just because it was too old, I think, to really tell.
Mm-hmm.
But it actually was pretty graphic. And gosh, if I thought about it, I would have showed a picture of it.
Maybe at break we can upload some.
Yeah, I'll just show you this kind of.
Right here. Graphic.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So its head was missing, and all of the internal organs and everything. But interesting here in Arizona, state law says if you find a dead livestock, you have to contact the sheriff's department, and you have to contact the Department of Agriculture. And so when I was investigating that, I called them, and they came out on site, and I had it all taped off and stuff. And they came out and kind of rendered their opinion, and the ag guy also. But it's unusual to have an entire head missing and some other things. And
Did they find it? Did they find the head?
No, I did a 300-yard walk around in the desert. Took me, an hour or two to just keep walking back. I couldn't find anything, but coyotes maybe could have drug it off or something.
Yeah.
But I'd be really interested in Chris's take as well. But the stuff that happens every day in almost every state. So it's a real phenomenon.
Right.
Well, in his book, he talks about that. And I don't know if people realize the number of cattle that are on this planet at any given point in time. There's billions of them.
Right.
So it's, things happen. So
All right, Tara, what do you have for Mars this week?
Well, today's Mars case is a really old historic one, about 65 years old. It took place in about 1958 aboard the USS Franklin D. Roosevelt aircraft carrier. As it cruised the waters between Florida and Cuba. So the historic MUFON report was received 20 years after the incident and was recounted by a shipman who was 18 years old while on duty during one of actually 3 reported incidents where a UFO reportedly buzzed the FDR. So I think there's a picture of the FDR, and you can see that that's a historic picture of it there. See the little 42 there? And here's the first of several witness sketches of the sighting. The witness stated it looks like the picture there, he was down below decks when people started running up to the flight deck. So he ran up the ladder and followed. So here from Life magazine is a picture of the USS FDR and its flight deck. And it gives you a scale as to how large this ship is.
Wow.
And once on deck, the witness, along with about 25 other individuals, saw a light in the sky, hovering over the ship at some distance. It started out as orange, but then appeared red, and it was keeping pace with the ship. And after a short time, the light descended to within 100 feet, where it now appeared oblong. It was a cigar shape. Does that sound familiar, Shane? With a row of square windows softly lit from behind. The witness stated we could see the outline of the occupants moving about inside. He said heat waves were emanating from the underside of the craft, and he could feel heat from it. There was no sound coming from it, but a person who was standing next to him said he could hear a whirring or a low-pitched grinding noise. So the witness talked about occupants looking out the windows. One was standing and another one was at the window with a raised arm, as if trying to get a better view of the ship and the men below. He said he could see the outline of bumps or protrusion from the head of the occupant that had the raised arm.
You can see that.
I know. It's a silhouette. He thought this might be some type of uniform. Now, he said it's within 100 feet. So this thing was huge, right? So he could... he thought that maybe that might be some type of uniform, right? So he stated that the object was about the size of a juice can held at arm's length, but it had rounded ends. Kind of sounds like a tic-tac.
That's
right?
huge. A juice can?
Yes.
Like
Juice
the frozen?
can.
Yeah, like,
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah, with rounded ends. So they all watched as the UFO hovered for about 2 minutes, 2 to 5 minutes, and the object began to turn red from the bottom up. The red suddenly changed to orange, and the object shot up into the sky and out of sight at an incredible speed. So did this really happen? Well, the Mars file does not contain the investigative disposition or the investigation, but it does contain some interesting tidbits. There are newspaper articles with attention-grabbing headlines, and there are UFO Update Journal articles about the FDR. And shortly after the 1958 sighting, it's reported that the Chief of Naval Operations, Navy brass, Air Force brass, Marine Corps brass, and some captains from other Air Force carriers came aboard the Roosevelt. So a request for public records was initiated by the witness asking for information specifically on incidents of 1952, 53, and 58. Requested were photocopies of pertinent log entries, all intelligence reports, all data entered into logs, photographic evidence, radar, written narratives, and such. So the executive officer of the USS Roosevelt replied, stating, "I don't know of no such thing happening," adding, "and I'm sure I would be aware of such an incident, had it happened." So the Department of the Navy Ship's History Branch stated they found no entries about any UFO sightings. The Department of the Navy Office of the Chief of Naval Operations replied that no entries were found relating to any UFO sightings. The reporting party even wrote to the TV show Unsolved Mysteries, asking them to do a show on the incident. And they also sent a letter declining the suggestion. So the FDR's own newsletter years later ran an article about the sighting reports and asking the question to those who were aboard during the time, did any of you observe the sighting or hear of anyone who did? They were hoping to get someone to write in. Shane talked about it being traumatic, some of these. Well, the witness said that for some time after the sighting, he found that he could not stay in line on ship and he went AWOL.
Oh.
He returned, served brig time, and was assigned new duty stations. He stated that all witnesses aboard the ship reportedly got transferred or went AWOL. So there you go. Kind of an interesting case there, Shane. Katie, what do you think?
Ship. He went AWOL. Sorry, Uncle. No, that's really fascinating. There's that being Navy connection again, right, Shane?
Yeah, I think that's what's really crazy is we think the Tic Tac and the gimbal and Go Fast were it. I mean, and there's probably dozens, hundreds maybe of cases before, and they're just playing dumb. So that's a great case and a great example of the value of Mars.
Yes.
And just historical cases in general. Like we'll never figure out this puzzle without, number one, all the pieces with all the different offshoots of the phenomenon itself. Number two, without the historical data. It just, so it's so dang important. And that was an excellent case, Tara.
Yeah, interesting.
I mean, sometimes I'll look through all these dang magazines, from the 60s and 70s, and there's so much in there. I mean, you could spend a lifetime just going and relearning all these things, but that are just not talked about or overlooked or forgotten about. And I think they're really important pieces to the puzzle.
And so high quality investigation too. I mean, that was a ton of work right there that you just showed, and personal computer. So wow, what a job that investigator did. Kudos to them.
It really, having a chance to review these cases really upped my game and held me to some standards that I really hadn't been, thinking about, because they are just so thorough, and it's easy to take just not look hard or take that extra little step. But they're interesting, whether you do anything or about just reading the cases, I find are fascinating. So
And I think we've talked about this on the show a lot. I mean, it seems to me, and you can disagree if you want, but in working the Mars cases and having just pioneers in the field on, it seems like the legwork that investigators and researchers did years ago, we've gotten, I hate to say it, a little bit lazy with our computers and just thinking we can sit behind the screen and be whatever. And the work they did back then, old school letters and interviews and getting reports and radar. I mean, it just goes on.
Going to libraries and,
law and things like this. So fascinating. And I love, that's why I think it's important to share these cases too. So thank you for doing that. Tara.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. I think it's time to bring Chris on. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
We'll get him on the show. So Christopher O'Brien. So from 1999 to 2002, Chris investigated hundreds of unexplained events in South Central Colorado, North Central New Mexico. His investigations are chronicled in his Mysterious Valley book trilogy and his event log of UFOs, cattle mutilations, crypto creatures, etc. is one of the largest databases of unusual occurrences from a single region of North America. His research was funded by Lawrence Rockefeller from 1997 to 2000. His latest book, Stalking the Herd, is the most comprehensive book ever written, addressing the perplexing cattle mutilation mystery. He is currently marketing UFO surveillance gear and software monitoring equipment with the UFO Data Acquisition Project, UFODAP. Their gear and software are located in 76 locations in 14 countries and growing weekly. O'Brien has appeared in over 90 TV show segments and films such as Ancient Aliens, Coast to Coast, UFO Hunters, Inside Edition, Extra, Tucker Carlson, Originals, and AMPTC Today, etc. He helped produce the award-winning documentaries It Could Happen Tomorrow, Accidental Truth, and James Fox's films Phenomenon and Moment of Contact. And he currently is located in New York. Please welcome to the show, Christopher O'Brien. Like I said, it's such an honor, Chris, to have you here. I'm a super fan. No, just kidding.
Thank
you can borrow the books, Tara.
I'll get them.
Yeah, a little correction on the intro. My 10 years of official, that went into my database and is kind of the 10 years that I look back at sometimes rather than fondly was from 1992 to 2002.
Okay.
All pretty much pre-internet for the most part, and it did involve hundreds of thousands of miles of travel, hundreds of interviews, possibly as many as 1,000 interviews that I conducted real time with people. And, you know, I had to go to research libraries and you know, newspaper morgues and sheriff's offices files and do it the old fashioned way of actually being there. Now it's so convenient with the internet that you can accomplish so much more in the amount of time that I spent running around doing it, you know, old school. And and that's, I think the point is well taken, that we can't get complacent and we can't get you know, lazy and rely on our tools too much, because a lot of what goes into good research in these fields is eyeball to eyeball, looking at people, how they recant their testimony, looking at body language, looking at how they fidget, how they respond to certain questions. This is all really, really super important when you're dealing with what you know, as someone I think pointed out, these events can be life altering. They have been for me. I'm involved in this because I'm an experiencer. When I was 6 years old, I had an up close and personal encounter with non-human entities. That was the most, you know, important life changing event, really, in my life.
Do you mind sharing that with us, Chris? Kind of where and how and what happened? Do you mind sharing that with us? Or
well, quickly, yeah, I was followed around my neighborhood by three, possibly four non-human entities. Definitely three. There may have been a taller one that was standing back. The only reason why I could really see them is they were holding. I call them stickmen with spears. They were impossibly skinny. They were holding these glittering rods that were about almost as tall as they were, and they had very colored light and white light kind of shimmering up and down, almost like phosphorance in the ocean. And it gave off enough light so that I could see the shape of their heads and their impossibly skinny arms. But it wasn't enough to really get details. I blocked out what their eyes looked like. People constantly ask me, well, did they have the big eyes? And I really don't remember. And I've not allowed myself to be regressed to open up any doors that I don't want opened. And because I was not paralyzed like most people who have these experiences are. I was perfectly mobile. I dashed out of my room to run up to my parents' room on the second floor, and I turned the stairs to go up to the second flight of stairs, and they were standing at the top waiting for me. And I got a little better look at them because there was a little bit more residual light coming in from the outside. I ran through the kitchen. They blocked my way, or for some reason, I ended up, instead of going around to the back of the house where my parents had a bedroom door, I ended up going next door to the neighbors. I went through a hedge and went through there, pounded on the door, and nobody opened it up. They had like a yard light that was displaying a pretty large beam on the ground of light. And so I ran out to the next neighbor's yard, and to get a lot of room between me and the light. And I was waiting for them to come through so I could get a better look at them. And the thing that terrified me was that they turned sideways, came through the light like pieces of paper. Like all of a sudden they had no depth. They were two-dimensional or something, like paper dolls. And I could only see these really thin lines coming through the light. And I don't really remember much after that. I pounded on the next neighbor, the Barker's door, and I remember the porch light coming on, and that's the last thing I remember until seeing my sister coming with her robe flashing, flapping in the breeze from her running. I thought she was an angel coming to save me, and it turned out it was my older sister who was 18.
Oh my gosh!
She took me home, and I wouldn't go down to my my bedroom in the basement, and she said I tried to nurse her when I finally fell asleep. I was so traumatized, and so of course, my parents they said you were sleepwalking. It was a nightmare, and of course, I've never had a nightmare like that since. I've never sleepwalked. Mm-hmm. And my little brother believed me, but everybody else in the family, they didn't really make much about it, and so I just kept quiet about it for many, many years. I didn't really. It took me a long time after even getting involved in these subject matters to come forward and talk about it, because I was afraid that by opening my mouth, I would be trashing years of hard work and that my credibility would just go out the window. Mm-hmm. And finally I said, that's just being dishonest. I have to really, tell people what I went through and how crucial a role this particular incident made in my life. I devoured every book I could find on UFOs. I was a very precocious, smart little kid. I learned how to read when I was 4.
Wow.
I read Incident in Exeter, the week that it came out, in 1965. This was a really paradigm-shifting event for me, and as was the standing in line at Safeway when I was 10. And at this point, having read probably a dozen books on UFOs, Vallée Keel, I'd read George Adamski, John Keel and Donald Keough, read both of them. I don't think I'd read Interrupted Journey by then. I don't even think it was out yet, but the Barney Hill story. But very soon I had read that, and was standing in line at Safeway, and I see this headline on the Enquirer, "Flying saucers killed my horse," in quotes. And there's this horribly slaying horse lying on the ground, and they're pointing at it.
Was that in 1967 by any chance?
Yeah, that was 1967 in November. And my mom, she took one look at the cover, and I'm begging her for 50 cents to buy the magazine, and she says, I'm not going to let you read that, that crap or whatever word used. And she was pretty adamant about it, but I was absolutely insistent. I would not leave that store until she bought that. And so that's how I learned about the first real publicized animal unexplained livestock death case, the Snippy the horse case, and that's how I found out about the San Luis Valley for the first time. That was where I first saw that term, and it it piqued my curiosity. So I went to the encyclopedia, and I looked it up and saw where it was and got a kind of an idea about it. And little did I know that that was 67. So fast forward 20, 30 years, that all of a sudden I'm living in this place, right? And it wasn't, I wasn't drawn there by UFOs and Snippy by any stretch. I had moved to Santa Fe with my girlfriend, and we just didn't like it. We saw 3 horrible car accidents. And my girlfriend was not a good driver. I felt really nervous. With I had knowing that she's going to be driving around in this crazy traffic, and just the place didn't have a vibe that we felt like it would be a good place to make home. So I had friends that lived up in Crestone, this little town in the San Luis Valley, and they had 2 extra bedrooms. They said, "Look, you came here and visited a few months ago. It's a beautiful place. So why don't you come up here and see if it's a place you'd like to live?" And so. We didn't really have much of a choice at that point, so we went up there, and I ended up getting involved in, much to my surprise, in all this paranormal stuff. And it all started with a New Year's Eve party in '92. Everywhere I went in the party, people were talking about a UFO sighting that had evidently 2 big 100-foot ovals had flown over town on December 9th, '92, and I found 18 witnesses as I started to look into it. And there were 12 of them at my party. And now this is a town of people. So it was a big deal. to discover this. And when I brought everybody together after, encountering little groups here and there and all talking about the same thing, I'm thinking, what's going on here? I brought them all together and said, you guys we all saw the same thing, and I'm hearing the same story from everybody. And Charlotte Heyer, I'll never forget, she goes, oh, December 9th, that was the same night they had a mutilation down in Costilla County, which is a couple counties south of it. And I thought, oh boy, here we go. And I immediately went to my little local paper publisher, Kizan Dennett, said, the Crestone Eagle needs this story. I've got a scoop. And so she said, well, next paper comes out, and it's a monthly. So next paper came out in 2 weeks. And she says, I'll give you 500 words, make it snappy. And do your do your due diligence. I'm not going to just put any old thing. It's not researched or anything. Give me something good. Mm-hmm. And within 2 weeks, I had enough material to write a book.
Wow!
Your first book was Enter the Valley, correct, Chris?
No, the Mysterious Valley is my
Mysterious
first
Valley is your first.
Mysterious Valley. And I picked up a major publishing deal with St. Martin's Press. It's the second or third largest publisher in the world, and I got offered $60,000 by HarperCollins, but the book that they did on the George W. Bush Fortunate Son, they got sued by the Bush family, and they had to burn 10,000 copies, and all that money that they were going to pour into the PR publicity campaign for my book. And Whitley Strieber had a book coming out, and there was a couple other St. Martin's Press authors. We all got, that was Enter the Valley, but they did a big push on the book. It went into 10 printings. There's a lot of copies of that book out there. If I had known now what I knew at the end of writing that first book, I would have written it a little differently. But I stand behind it. I tried to show the process of what it's like for a neophyte investigator to become an investigator, and so I discovered what I called rules of investigation along the way, and I would share the 13 rules as I learned them, and that's it's kind of James Redfield. I think he had the Celestine Prophecy, and he had the 10 rules of something, and so I took that concept and applied it to an investigative sort of format, if you will, and I do stand behind all those rules. I think they're very important for people that want to get involved in this field. You really have to have some clear guidelines, and you have to have some rules of investigation, and to not only adhere to, but have people who are being impacted by your work to hold you to those rules. And I've for 30 years I've said, hey, people, if you don't like what I'm doing, show me which one of these rules I'm violating, and I will do better if I can, and nobody's ever come forward and caught me any of them. So I guess I must be doing something right. But we're unfortunately the my mentor and teacher and research partner and very, very close dear friend, David Perkins, who I consider the number one expert in the field of cattle mutilations, which is what I've become fairly well known about before. We just lost him a month ago. And we were finishing up the initial part of writing the follow-up to Stalking the Herd. He was going to be my co-author for that, and it's really tough continuing on without him, because we were very, very close. He was like an older brother to me, and I considered him the brightest thinker in this whole field, not only with dead cows, but consciousness studies, guy in earth science studies, psychology, whether it's individual or collective psychology. He was just a tremendous thinker. He's one of the few people that really challenged me intellectually. I consider myself to be a pretty bright guy, and he was the only one that really made me think. Would ask the questions, and I would go, "Whoa," back in my chair type thing, and say, well, "Wait a minute, I got to think about that for a second."
Yeah. Those people are rare gifts, aren't they? I'm sorry for your loss, Chris.
It was rough, but So now that I've been put in the captain's chair, I'm finding it's weird. Just in the past month, I've had, I don't know, probably 15 invites to be on shows and stuff, and I'm now having to turn people down and pick and choose carefully what shows I go on, because I don't want to burn myself out and become overexposed. One thing about David Perkins, you don't really, a lot of people haven't heard that name before. That's because, like me, he's never made a single call to the media to promote himself. He's never, which to me is one of the I wish I'd made that as to a 14th rule in my investigative rules. There's too many people out there that think that this is some sort of quick path to fame or something or fortune. And let me assure you, it's not. Notoriety is one thing, fame is something else. If you want to become notorious, then go around touting that aliens are coming in and they're going to take over the planet. They're going to abduct your children. They're going to remount your cow. That's not going to win you many points in my book. And
Christopher, how big of a town did you grow up in? I mean, when this event happened to you as a child, how, like you said, it seemed like it was a small town. And what about your family?
No, it wasn't. It was Bellevue, Washington. When I was 12, if I still today had my paper route that I had when I was 12, I'd be Bill Gates' paper boy.
Oh my gosh.
Medina is it's like the Beverly Hills of Western Washington.
Did your family have any experience?
No.
Nobody else?
My dad did. He claimed that he saw strange craft on their brand new radar unit when he was in the Coast Guard in Puget Sound, right in 47 when the Maury Island Harold Dahl, Fred Chrisman case happened. He was in the in Kenneth Arnold. He was in the Coast Guard from 45 to 48, I think, and or 44 to 48. And he did tell the family on a number of occasions, which he denied later, that they saw objects going in and out of the Straits of Juan de Fuca at impossibly fast speeds. And when they reported it to their superiors, they were told that they hadn't been trained properly in how to read their units when they knew darn well that they had. And so they realized that, that they should just keep their mouth shut. And they never made an issue out of it and said, well, we know what we saw, and, made a big deal out of it. They just, it was one event. It happened. They saw, these things descend 10,000 feet in an impossible time frame and appear to disappear into the water. Is how it was couched to me. And later on, when I got into all this stuff, my dad totally went into denial and got angry when I pressed him on it. I never told you that. And I said, well,
so Chris,
yeah, you did. I'm not making it up.
Right.
So
you'd remember something like that.
There was no. This was never a subject that ever came up when I was
interesting. So, Chris, do you mind sharing just a few of your kind of steps of investigations with those who are kind of just starting out?
Well, open them up and start reading them for me. It's been so long since I looked at them. The number one rule is that these subjects are polarizing. That they, people immediately knee-jerk react to one side or the other. Yes, they're believers. No, they're not believers. And you have to really, understand that at least up until the recent, what I call the neo-modern, the new modern age of ufology that was ushered in with the New York Times article, the Ralph Blumenthal King article in 2017. Ever since then, we are in a nuanced period now of it's not either you believe or you don't believe. There are now nuanced levels in between now that this subject has broken through. And so maybe that rule isn't as applicable as it was back when I wrote it, but you're going to find that people, this either is something that they're willing to accept the possibility of, or it's demonic, it's of the devil is going to be you're number one around this country in this day and age, with a third grade reading average that many communities have now in this country. Wow. It's just abhorrent. You're going to find that, if it's something that has high technology and we don't know what it is and it can't be explained, it's got to be of the devil. It's got to be satanic. It's got to be demonic. Mm-hmm. All this is demonic. And one of the things that Ron James, one of our foremost experts, excuse me, I've been seeing that in all these articles, and I'm thinking, wow, I got to get his PR guy. Ron, bless his heart, but Ron and I, it's kind of an insider joke. Ron's one of my best friends. I've worked with him on and off for 20 years professionally in videography and other things. It's just, I find it very interesting that he should be quoted as saying that one of the reasons why we're having such a problem within the U.S. government, while there's so much resistance about this new age of modernity in the UFO world, is because these guys are fundamentalists, these Congress people and politicians, and they believe this is demonic and we shouldn't give it any attention, that it should be,
I mean, back, I think a lot of the listeners know, and I know, Chris, that, the tie to the Elbert County Ranch for me from the mid 70s, 75 to 78, that's one of the big things they looked at were satanic cults. And where do you lie with that right now? I mean, I know what my own conclusion is that I drew reading all your books and others, but where are you with that?
Well, I really think it's rather ridiculous. All through history and even into prehistory, if humans didn't know what something was and it had any sort of veneer of negativity, then they would think that it was, bad gods or demons or whatever, fill in the blank negative entity that you had in your belief system. And this goes all the way back to the Maasai and the Dinka in Africa, the Greeks. They all had, they put faces on and personified these types of entities with characteristics, with personalities, and if you go into some of the cultures today, like if you go to the Middle East and you have a poltergeist case, it's automatically sent. A special type of law enforcement officer will get involved in a case of the jinn. And there's even a whole court system that's designed to handle cases where the jinn have been fingered as being the perpetrator of a particular series of events. And there's even a legal system designed around this whole approach. Now, this is ancient. We're going back, 1,000+ years that we've had this type of interpretation of phenomenal events in Arabic countries and in Near Eastern countries. In India, you have a similar type of situation where certain types of afflictions are thought to be caused by negative god forms and that sort of thing. In this country, of course, being predominantly knee-jerk Christian and going more fundamentalist every year, it seems. Anything in terms of my personal view on this, any colonization of spirit is not a good thing for me. We all should have, we all are responsible for our direct connection to our own divinity, and anything that tries to colonize that or manipulate it, to me, is a very bad thing. And we're seeing the results of that manipulation right now in this country. And I could do a week's worth of shows talking about this particular subject, which I won't bore you with.
I think that is a very, very good way to put it, Chris. And I really haven't heard anybody put it that way before. Like, anytime you indulge in a belief or in one form or any form, and it's dominantly in a box, you have to keep keep your views wide open and experience the yin and the yang, the good and the bad, and all these different things. So I've never heard it quite put that way before, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah, well, the bottom line, Katie, is that we have a personal responsibility for our own process of connection with divinity. You don't need a rabbi, you don't need a priest, you don't need an intermediary opening and closing the door for you to your connection with God or the Creator or Allah or Shiva or whatever it is. You know, it's a deeply personal spiritual process that we're all going through from birth to death, and we owe it to ourselves to do unto others as we would have them do unto us. That's the cardinal rule, and everything else kind of falls into a working of one's divine connection to will. Your true will is your divine will, and that's our number one.
Right.
Well, the other thing too.
With only a minute left to break. I'm sorry, Shane. Go ahead.
Okay. No, go ahead. It'd take longer. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. Because I'm like, we only have a minute left before break. And I was just going to ask him, since we have less than a minute now before break, do you think that's part of the process of what Contact is about, to teach us maybe these spiritual things? Have you seen that kind of be part of the process in a whole, or do you think it's completely not?
There is an element of that, absolutely. Yeah, and we can talk about that when we come back. I think that in my case is a classic example of that. So
okay, so when we come back from break, we're going to do an evening on Earth with an extraterrestrial with Chris. So I'm anxious to get his answers on that, and we will dive into more on the mutilations, and I want to touch base too on what you think about everything that's happening since 2017. So more with Chris on the other side of the break. See you soon, guys.
Stay tuned.
Hey members, the new KGRA DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA DB.
MUFON is the voice of thousands of like-minded people who want to see change. We speak up against UFO secrecy. We engage governments and agencies around the world on the topic. We share information with the public through our journal, website, newsletter, social media, and even our own TV channel. When you join MUFON, you add your voice to the cause. Few things are more important in our time than understanding the UFO question. Join MUFON. Find your friends.
Did you know 75% of Americans are chronically dehydrated? If you struggle with focus, run low on energy, or when it's time to finally sleep, you simply can't, this can all be linked to dehydration, and Fuel Up has the answer. Our proprietary formula contains the finest cellular hydration with the strongest immune-enhancing natural ingredients. The Fuel Up system is made up of 3 different incredibly tasting varieties. Wake kickstarts your day with a jolt of caffeine. Play boosts focus while hydrating your cells. Rest not only helps you relax, but also rejuvenates your cells while you sleep. Here's what our clients have to say.
I really don't miss my coffee, and you can tell the difference.
So I'm going to take it for the energy. I'm going to take it for the play. I'm going to take it, all day.
And it works. That's the thing. It works. We love it.
Take the Fuel Up Challenge now, where we offer a Feel the Difference money-back guarantee. Fuel Up for life.
You're listening to the KGRA Digital Broadcasting Network. We provide unparalleled coverage of trending news in the world of ufology, cryptozoology, and paranormal phenomenon. Whether you're watching our video live stream or listening to one of our audio programs, you are getting the best from world-renowned researchers and hosts. guiding you through topics the mainstream won't touch. Miss one of your favorite programs? No problem. Head over to the members area at kgradb.com for access to our massive library of award-winning content. Make contact, stay connected, only at kgradb.com.
Forgot my dance. Anyway, so new segment, An Evening on Earth with an Extraterrestrial. I like to ask our guests every week. So whether you believe they're coming from somewhere else or coming up from our oceans, whatever we're dealing with, even if it's interdimensional, and that's something we're going to get into here a little bit too. I want to know Chris's view on that. But where on Earth would you want to have an evening with an ET?
I don't know. I've never been asked a question like that before.
I know. So I like asking.
Well, the first place I'd want them is in quarantine for at least 90 days.
Smart.
Maybe we could have that pass-through system where they have gloves on their side, we have gloves on ours, and we could maybe have I don't know, Chinese takeout or something.
That's an excellent answer. Like, so you have the gloves, you're in like a lab somewhere and you're passing through like the old, systems at the bank or whatever. I like
right,
that.
Right.
So Chinese takeout. And okay, you're going to play some music in the background. What song or music or band would you like in each?
Well, I'm quite partial to ambient music. It's what I listen to when I work, when I sleep. I have a really good Pandora channel that's deep ambient, and I'm really into people like Eric Wolko and Steve Roach and Brian Eno and Meg Bowles, and there's a whole bunch of really talented ambient composers out there. I also make ambient music myself. I'm a keyboard player.
Oh, cool.
I wouldn't think to, pollute their minds with some of the inanities that go for popular music, pass for popular music in this day and age. There's very little of it that has any sort of redeeming qualities. It's super compressed. There's no ebbing and flowing of dynamics. The human element is being processed and programmed out of music. Everything's too perfect. It all sounds the same. I sound just like my dad did when I was talking to him about the Beatles. He
It's
said,
inevitable.
"You call that music?" And I said, "Yeah, I do."
Yes,
And so do a lot of other people. And I said,
I
"I
do.
never, ever, when I get to be your age, I am never going to talk about the kids' music the way you talk about our music."
And look at you now.
Just don't ask me about rap.
Famous last
I'll
word.
really go off.
Oh.
This is why I like this segment, because now I have a whole list, like 3 or 4 new people to go check out. And you're right, having ambient music on in the background, it's wonderful. And we do that too at night when we go to see it, like whether it's crystal singing bowls or whatever, just to have
Exactly.
that going. Yeah, that.
Well, I like the stuff that's geared towards beta and theta work myself. And then when I'm in a position where I'm not doing major thinking, I'm doing projects and things like that. Maybe putting things together, doing artwork, that sort of thing, designing covers or designing stuff. Then I'll throw some beats in, and I prefer the one world kind of music. One of my favorites is Afro-Celt Sound System, which is a combination of North African drumming and stringed instruments with Celtic music. And it's just absolutely jaw-droppingly, you can't not be in a happy place when you hear this music.
And what is that called again?
Sound system, huh?
What is that called again? I would love that.
Afro-Celt Sound System.
All right, I'm definitely
now I think they just call them Afro-Celt now, but they've released a dozen or so albums, and the first 4 albums are just really good. I can't speak enough about them. And there's a bunch of other people too that I really like to listen to that falls into that world music genre. I like stuff that I imagine somebody on the other side of the world would be sitting there bopping to as well.
Yeah, and I'm sure Anita would appreciate that as well. I mean, there's something to drumming in that. So,
it's all real people playing real instruments.
Right.
They do kind of dive into a little bit of electronic dance music. They do have some computer generated beats, but then it's all augmented with real world class drumming and the ULN player, the single bagpipe that you don't blow into it, play it like a flute with a bag. The ULN player they have is just unbelievably good, and the flute and piccolo playing and penny whistle playing is some of those Irish reels and jigs and stuff are, along with the African beats. It's really fun music. Yeah. It's hard.
I love that. I love that. I have to agree with you. I have the Fisherman's what was the movie? The Fisherman's Wharf soundtrack, and it's all that like pirate music, and I just love it. Anyway, it's very Celtic. It's great. So, what film would you show in ET?
What's
film,
the next one?
Movie, film or movie?
I'd show them the film E.T. as a comedy and get their reaction of how that little creature that has a neck that when his neck's up, the little kid could karate chop him and kill him, So
that's great.
That would be interesting to get the reaction of our maybe misplaced view of what non-human life is, intelligent non-human life is like.
Be interesting to have a sense of humor. Yeah,
that's funny. And what one question would you want answered?
How come you haven't wanted to reveal your presence here on this planet, which you've been here longer than we have? How come you waited so long to show up, knowing the answer? As well, when you started popping off nuclear weapons, you put us in harm's way, and we had to show up to tell you that you're living alongside a bee's nest, and the bees aren't happy. And that's why those early sighting reports in the 50s, 40s and 50s, featured fleets of UFOs. I mean, large groups of UFOs. They showed up en masse to let us know that we're in trouble, that they think we're playing around with their with their potential safety, and perhaps they don't trust us with our new toys. And that's why we had the modern age of UFOs begin, because of our use of fissionable materials. There's no question in my mind that that's why they showed up. And I really do think, getting to the question that you mentioned before the break, what do you think we're dealing with here? I think we're dealing with other tenants in the building. We're not alone. There's other intelligent, non-human entities that are, and possibly quasi-human entities that exist here alongside us, whether they're in the 2%, the 98% of the oceans that we haven't explored. There's a good chance that it's not by accident that the first intelligence agency in this country was founded all the way back in the 1880s, and it was wasn't the army, it wasn't foreign some sort of foreign intelligence agency to go spy on people. It was the Office of Naval Intelligence.
Yeah,
it was started back in the 1880s. Why? Because sailors were seeing events like you just described on the Roosevelt in '58. Right. There's some pretty tantalizing evidence to suggest that we've had our warships have seen, prior to the turn of the 19th to 20th century that they had seen things. There's a report from the 1915 of a very close encounter of a craft with our Navy. So it's not like the government hasn't known that they're here. It's just that they didn't have way back then. They had absolutely no clue of what they were dealing with. But they sure as heck started a branch of the Navy to try to exhaust all efforts to find out what's going on. It wasn't for another 60 years that we had our next intelligence agency in this country, and I think that underlines that possibility that we are dealing with something that has a presence in our oceans. Also, I think there's a possibility that we're dealing with something that's learned how to be or is slightly out of phase with our particular dimensional reality, that they're existing maybe in frequency ranges that we can't detect readily, that they are able to manipulate their phase abilities and can phase in, phase out of our reality. Whether you want to call that dimensional, maybe it's due to some sort of dimensional capabilities, or maybe it's just simply a phase existence that we aren't aware of. The people often ask me, well, why are these aliens coming here and taking these body parts? And I said, well, how do you know that they're not actually us sending back from the future chefs to gather parts that are from animals that are illegal to eat in the future, which they will be. Cows will be illegal to eat sometime. And they're bringing them back for trillionaires to have $1 million dinners of illegal cattle parts. That makes way more sense than anything coming from outside of our solar system or even from our solar system, coming here to take out the rear ends of cows, gather genitalia, make a lip and eye stew or udder souffle or whatever the hell they're doing with the
blood
parts.
pudding. Yeah.
If you want genetic material to hybridize your dying race, which is the cockamamie reason that I hear constantly being touted about, their race is dying. They need cattle hemoglobin and genetic material to hybridize their dying race. Well, why the heck don't they pick the lock on one of them big super freaking farms up in Weld County and go in there? There's huge vats of hundreds of gallons of the stuff. Just slop up some of that and beam it up aboard your ship, or do it with a teeter-totter or whatever, however you and leave our poor cows alone. They're not sneaking around in the pastures of our world, gathering parts for some nefarious purpose, for some nefarious it's cockamamie BS. None of it works.
Well,
for me, it's the least likely possibility.
Could I ask you, because you're leading into some things, I want to talk a little bit about UFO DAP. But first I was going to say, I think you and I met, it was at a conference, and I think it was maybe the International UFO Congress, maybe in Phoenix in 2019-ish, something like that.
Yeah, I gave my my UFO DAP presentation,
Yes, and we sat there at the table for a while and chatted, but I did want to talk a little bit about UFO DAP, because part of what you're talking about here is a couple of points. One is that they're not making their presence in formal contact, right? We're left with all this mystery of who they are and what they are, and there's a lot of theories on that. But there's no evidence or actionable data to do that. And I know that one of the intentions of UFO DAP was to collect some meaningful data.
Yeah, wouldn't that be fun?
Scientifically, make some decisions based on some science. Because you made a good point. We're anthropocentric and we personify everything, right? Cartoons, ships, whatever it is. This is how humans think. We just can't help it. So, whether it's God and he's an old man on a throne in the sky, or gods and goddesses like Zeus and whatever, it's just how humans operate. But the fact is, there is a reality that we're dealing with. There is an objective,
which I don't deny. People introduce me as a ufologist from time to time, and I politely ask them not to refer to me. I don't want to be lumped in with those people because of the extraterrestrial hypothesis.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it's the least likely explanation of what we're dealing with. And in order to make any headway on this particular conundrum or question, if you will, I've been working for years with Wayne Hollenbeck, who was a MUFON member, Orange County MUFON for many years. Did contract law for the CIA for classified materials, was kind of plugged in on some levels in aerospace and other places. And he tricked me into accepting a camera and a bunch of Ethernet cable to hook up a camera on top of a building in Sedona when I was living in Arizona to try to capture some of the Sedona aerial activity that goes on from time to time. And you know, he tricked me into it by leaving it there and then telling me, oh, by the way, I left the camera there. I want you to hook it up. And so that's how UFODAP, the genesis of it, started back in 2005. I had always had the dream of going to the San Luis Valley with gear and trying to have a standalone system that would be able to, on its own, autonomously pick up evidence of stuff. And at the time when I tried to cost it out, it was virtually impossible to accomplish. But if I had the transmitters and the other things that I needed, it would have been somewhere around $800,000 or $900,000. At the time, I didn't have that.
Yeah. Well, can you describe for our audience what UFODAP is?
Yeah, UFODAP is it's pretty simple. It's some software that has been designed by a gentleman named Ron Olch. He's a computer scientist whiz. He worked for Disney. He's an inventor, basically. He designs and invents electronic gear. And what he's done is he's invented a software architecture that allows for different data gathering instruments to be coordinated together autonomously on their own. And they range from up to 6 optical systems, cameras, pan tilt zoom, analog cameras with blaze gratings for breaking light at night into its frequencies, its different spectra, fixed cameras with real wide angle lenses, fisheye all sky cams to cover the entire sky if you have that kind of vista. If you're on top of a tall building, then you have an unobstructed view. Use a all sky cam, and then that'll trigger the computer to alert all the other sensors. Now, along with up to 6 of these cameras, you can also get the MSDAU, which is a multi-system data acquisition unit, which has a variety of scientific gear, which includes magnetometers, similar to what Francis Ridge in his MADAR program has, but ours are a little bit more powerful. So a magnetometer to register any changes in the Earth's magnetic field. You have accelerometers, which are tied in to GPS and tied into the Earth's measuring the Earth's gravity field and looking for any perturbations or changes in the gravity. There's a radio frequency spectrum analyzer, which zips up and down the radio frequency, looking for any aberrant spikes in radio frequencies, similar like at Skinwalker Ranch, where they have that 1.6 megahertz signal. That would be an example of you pick it up with a radio frequency spectrum analyzer. And then there's a complete atmospheric, speed, temperature, humidity. It's the same package that they use on the space station. Same thing. And then there's, we're going to, down the line, we're going to have radar. We're going to be going in and putting some more exotic experimental gear that can plug in. You have 2 additional plugins that you can put other gear of your own choosing. Now, all this stuff is contained in a box, which is about this big
Wow.
by this wide, by this tall, and
server or something.
And it has its own dedicated computer software program that allows you to operate the gear anywhere in the world over the internet. It has, most importantly, for the optical stuff, sexy stuff that everybody wants. So let me see some footage. Everybody wants to see footage. Nobody wants to see magnetic data or gravitational data because they're not scientists, and that's what scientists want to see. They want to see the stuff that they can really, learn something from.
Yeah.
Optical data is only good for oohs and ahs. It's like going to 4th of July.
Right. I think these are all wonderful advances, though. I mean, seeing in different light spectrum.
I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying that the other data is vastly more important to a scientist,
right.
Unless you're an optical physicist, which Bruce Maccabee would be an example of one.
Yeah.
So what's important is, how would I put this? Since optics are so important, he put a lot of thought into how to get the cameras to work as one unit.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has seen all sorts of really fun UFO footage, but you haven't seen a second camera filming it, the same event.
Right.
If you have a second camera, what happens? You can triangulate the event. Now, our unit has complete GPS. It runs off Google Maps. When an event occurs, it shows you a dot on a map.
Nice.
It gives you altitude, gives you speed. It gives you, relationship data, which you normally can't have just with a single camera. So if you have up to 6 cameras that know there's an event, they've been alerted by the software, and they wheel around in concert together and focus on the event, it's amazing how much data you can get from that.
Yeah.
And what's even more fun is he's designed targeting software that motion tracks and follows the object.
Wow.
So it can be flying around, and you're going to have all 6 cameras following it, with the cameras closest to it zooming in, the other cameras taking intermediate positions out to infinity, out to super wide angle. So our software has been, for 3 years, has been on a deep learning curve lesson. It's been teaching itself how to discriminate between
That's
bugs.
what I was going to ask. I thought I read that.
It's self-discriminating. So it factors out bugs, birds, particulate matter.
That's so cool.
It's still having some difficulty with, but it's learning that. And obviously, conventional aircraft, you can hook it into Flight 24, which is your program that you use to determine any transponded flight in your area. And also, if you want, you can take the GPS data and send it off to space.com, and you can actually get still images of the area during the event and look from head down view from space at the area in which you've had an event happen. This is, people say, well, you're a ufologist. I say, no, I'm not a ufologist, but if I was, this is what I would be working on.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you think, Chris, about the trickster element? So, I mean, if there's a trickster element to the phenomenon, could they just avoid these cameras?
Well, that's a big possibility. But see, I think that we're in a cat and mouse game here. I think that they've been waiting for us to go, you got us, So
right.
I'm an optimist. I'm filling the glass. Forget this, the half full, half empty scenario. I'm filling it. I think it behooves us to try to use the powers of modern technology and low cost. I must remind people that to get a full-blown system is less than $5,000. To get an elementary entry-level system is $300. You can start with $300, have the software, a couple of cameras, and you're off to the races.
Where can people go to get this?
We're not making any money off this. Ron makes $90 for his software. He spent 6 years and wrote 100,000 lines of code. We need to tighten him up on this time. $90 to pay for the brains of this thing is not that big of a deal. You can add on whatever gear is going to work with the with the software. There are certain cameras that we recommend simply because you're going to get better quality for your dollar. But what
How many of these are deployed, Chris? Do you know?
We're in 14 countries. We have 18 states in the United States, 2 provinces in Canada, and we have, at last count, 76 setups. We're expanding weekly. It's growing incrementally now that the Beyond Skinwalker Ranch crew is using our gear to take out to these hotspot areas. And we have actually gear at Skinwalker Ranch. They use the software to coordinate their cameras. And we have a guy that's at the Wolf Research Project, which is next door to Skinwalker, and he's putting in a system to watch the watchers, which I like that.
Yeah. I thought I saw on one of these television shows a couple years ago, they were on Catalina Island, and I thought that what they had was your equipment there. Yeah.
Yeah. UAPX.
Yes. UAPX
has our system. They've plugged a couple of their own things into it, and so they've renamed it something else.
Gotcha.
Which I find is a little
distasteful.
It's, I mean, come on, credit where credit is due, guys.
Yeah.
We're the first. A number of people have tried to do this, including, as Mark D'Antonio was working with a group with funding from Douglas Trumbull, the famous special effects guy from Blade Runner and Close Encounters, and stuff. He's unfortunately died now, but they had a system that was going to be dropped into areas with a 360 degree cameras pointing in all different directions and stuff. And then another group that didn't get off the ground was UFO Data, which was the CUFOS folks, the Center for UFO Studies, the group that was started by J. Allen Hynek in Chicago, Mark Rodiger, Rich Switek, Leslie Keene, I think, is on their board. And Alexander Wendt, the scientist from Ohio State. They were going to do a similar thing, and they were working on developing software and trying to come up with a system. But Ron and I and Wayne beat everybody to the punch.
Yeah.
And so now these other efforts are kind of falling away. And UFO Data, much to their credit, said, "Hey, look, we're not going to try to reinvent the wheel. You guys, have beat us to it. But man, if you get some data, you got some scientists here that are really interested in looking at it. So why don't you be the data gathering portion of this, and we'll be your data analysts as your partners." And so we partnered up with them, and also the Scientific Coalition for UFO Studies is very interested. Robert Powell and his folks. Ron, our engineer, did a presentation for them a couple of years back and got some really good feedback, and they're all on board and willing and able to help us do some paper writing, possibly. And I probably should say this here, but NASA recently, a week or two ago, said, "Hey, we'd love it if the public would come up with a way to possibly help us begin our study." And so we're going to approach NASA with a plan to get them involved in maybe getting some of these systems set up and manned by real scientific professionals, which would be really great. Yeah. It's one thing to have a grassroots thing with a bunch of excited kids and folks that are out there, using our protocols and using our instructions effectively. They're going to get some stuff. But man, if you got some physicists that are doing this, or engineers or people that are
scientists,
it could be really exciting. What this is the beginning of the new modern age of ufology, and it's going to be data driven. And much to your point, Katie, I'm really excited to find how these systems are blocked from gathering data, and whether if maybe there's two systems in the same area, whether they're both blocked or only one is blocked.
That's
what
a
does
great
the one that isn't blocked see? Why was the one that was blocked or somehow circumvented? How was that possible? it
Right.
opens up all kinds of interesting.
Yeah, just like on Skinwalker Ranch, that series on History Channel, they launch rockets and they're having trouble collecting certain data with their instruments, and so they repeated that on Beyond Skinwalker here in Gilbert County, and it's like it hit a wall and the same thing. So it's almost like no data is also data because something's blocking it. Something's keeping us.
Mm-hmm. If you get that consistently from point to point on the planet, then you're looking at something that is extremely fast in how it's able to react to the presence of technology, and that opens up a whole new avenue of discussion. And I'm really excited at this. I'm so proud to be a part of this effort. We've made quite a bit of headway. Because of the exposure on the shows. We have a whole Discord has a whole channel now for people to share their footage and to comment on footage, and it's getting added to every day. I can't even keep up with it. And nobody's come up with anything really good from what I've seen. We've had a lot of good optical stuff, but again, it's equivocal. We haven't gotten the kind of magnetic and gravitational anomalies that I know are going to happen here very soon. That's the stuff that we're looking for.
How is that different than MADAR? I thought MADAR was sort of the instrument that determines a disruption in the electromagnetic field. Are you familiar with it at all?
Yeah, it is. It's similar to MADAR. What makes MADAR really interesting, and what Fran's original intention is to have a network of these things.
Yeah.
So that we could watch craft as they fly from one MADAR unit's coverage to another, and that's the same thing that we have with the UFODAP system.
Gotcha.
The magnetometer that we have is I don't think it's quite as there are some differences to it. I think the MADAR unit may have a larger range than ours, but I'd really need to compare the specs on it. They're very, very similar, though.
Yeah.
But it is a one-trick pony in that you're only looking at that particular magnetic.
It's simple and it's really affordable. It's a few $100, and I know that's on my shopping list. But where can folks get like your system? Is it commercially available or?
Yeah, we've had it available for a couple of years now. It's we're doing he's doing updates monthly too on the software. It's getting better and better and better. It's just UFO DAP, UFO Data Acquisition Project, the UFODAP.com. And we have a list of all our locations, a complete breakdown of all the gear. What we do that's, I think, a really smart move on our part is that Ron customizes each unit for the person's setup. So if a person, let's say, has trees in the back of their house, he doesn't need a camera that goes all the way around. He can use cameras that just point in the directions where he has clear visibility. Let's say you have a narrow window of opportunity optically. Obviously, the sensor data is going to be generated from all around you, but the optical data, if you've got trees blocking you either cut down your trees or conform your visual cameras to that. And the more you conform your cameras, the less expensive it will become.
Gotcha.
So if you're going to put in a 100-degree fixed camera, it's going to cost you a lot less than a pan tilt zoom camera that's that's operating like it's a security camera upside down basically with a better lens. And these things can zoom in to 36 times optical zoom.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
So, and it's not digital zoom blowing up pixels. It's real optical zoom. So. And the slew rate is amazing. These things can zip by and it'll follow it. So, and it's cool to watch it when it acquires an object. It'll the bounding box comes up and the targeting box is in there and it falls it around, and it's pretty cool.
Are there any deployed in Arizona?
Yeah.
I'll have to find out. Go bug.
There's one in Paradise Valley.
Yeah.
There's a new one that's going in somewhere.
Is there one in the San Luis Valley out here?
Yeah, we have them in. There's one at the UFO Watchtower, and then there's another one going in as we speak. Jay Widener is putting one in Crestone.
Nice. That's awesome.
But the other thing that's interesting too is that because we're doing this deep learning program, it's learning to be more and more discriminating. So now, if it does have something that it can't identify, we have a system set up to alert you. So if a true unknown is identified, a folder is made, event goes into the folder, it automatically sends out up to 3 emails and alerts up to 3 people to immediately go to the system and look at the event happening in real time. Wow. So it's an instantaneous alarm system that will enable people to be alerted right away when a true unknown shows up on your system.
Wow. 3:30, 3 in the morning.
Yeah.
Everybody's
Everybody's jumping up with their go kits.
That'd be okay with me.
Always it's gonna be like that. But I can't think of a better way to be woken up.
Yeah,
right.
That's neat.
You run towards it or away from it? I don't know.
Have my computer on, and you can operate the camera manually. You can pan,
That's neat.
spin it around. You can, all this stuff is all the optical stuff is able to be with a pan tilt zoom or a PTZ camera. You can operate it on your own, even if you're on vacation in China.
Yeah, awesome. Remote.
Hey, before we move on, I just want to just say real quick on the MADAR thing. Folks that have MADAR are able to submit reports to MUFON, and then MUFON correlates that case that MADAR submission to any case data that we have. So, kind of to your point, Chris, that you can take some action. Like if somebody's having an event, it'll send an alert, and then we check to see if there's any cases, being submitted.
Right.
So I've worked 3 or 4 cases that had MADAR data as part of the investigation, which is super cool, right? Because you know data you want trace evidence if you can get it. You want video, photo, radar. But any kind of data, electromagnetic.
Right, and you can plug MADAR right into the MSDAU, into mission control. That can be one of your sensors.
Oh,
so MADAR can be used alongside all these other sensing platforms. And it's all open source. It's on Raspberry Pi, so people can go in and tinker with it. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't suggest it. It's pretty well thought out the way it is.
Yeah,
but if you have the ability and the know-how and stuff, you can go in there and tweak stuff. Mm-hmm. Again, we're trying to be as open source as we can. We do not charge extra money for gear. The only thing we charge for that we make money on is the software, which, as I mentioned, at the very least, he should try to recoup some of that time and energy. But it's all at cost, and we try to work the best available package that we can put together for your particular budget. So
well, make sure you check out that website, folks. I think Chanel just had it up. So we're starting to run out of time, Christopher. So I hate to change.
Yeah, we never started talking about the cows, did we?
Well, that's just it.
That's a whole show, right?
I started your book, and maybe you can start out by talking to people. I read in the book about ancient cattle mutilations, and that I think you have a picture of it too, of some cave drawings, and I wanted to get your interpretation of that, and then just maybe
the
talk about
fresco,
what your
fascinating.
Yeah,
I sent those images there. There we go.
There it is. Yeah.
Put the other one on first, Katie. Okay. Now you have to imagine this. This is a fresco on the Tassili fresco, the Tassili Plateau in Algeria. This is about, I think it's about 8,000 years old. This particular image. Now you have to look carefully at the cattle. You'll notice that this is the front of a herd that on the wall in the fresco goes about 20 feet. So you've got well over 100 cows streaming behind these cows. And at the very front of the herd is you have this little scene. And so go to the other image now. Okay, now what are you looking at here? You're looking at some what are obvious humans, the dark characters. There's 5 of them. You have one that seems to be in the front is talking to the cows. He's taunting them. And then one is holding back another one who looks like he's running to the larger character. And then you have a woman who's just sitting there watching this whole thing. And then you have what appears to be a front leg lying there. It's not a back leg. Both back legs are there. So it's got to be that right front leg that's been cut off. And you have a person that looks like a half a person, but I think the lower part of the body has worn away. On the original photograph, you can see the outline of the lower part of the body. That's not a half a person. But they seem to be pulling out the reproductive tract of this cow. And at the front is something that is not human. That if it was a human doing that, it would be black. It would have kind of a pointy head. It would have clothing on, and it would look like the other figures. But it doesn't look like the other figures. It looks like some sort of alien ghost type figure. It is operating on the other leg, it looks like, or possibly the neck of the animal, with some sort of tool that it has in its hand. Now, if this isn't, some sort of depiction of a cattle mutilation in progress, I don't know what it is. It doesn't conform to anything else. I've studied as many of these frescoes as I can. Cattle were such an important part of their life as they are today. We still have the Nuer, the Dinka, the Maasai. These tribes still, cattle are used as currency, as money in their, today in their culture. And it's the most important thing that they have in their culture. And everything that they do is for and by the cows, and much more than even in India. And so to have this kind of depiction of what appears to be an unnatural looking creature working on a cow, and all the cows coming to check it out, and to me, it's the oldest known depiction of a cattle mutilation.
Wow.
And I challenge anybody to come up with anything older. This is probably around 8,000 years old.
Oh, man.
Anywhere from 5,000 to 8,000 years. They're not sure.
Wow. Beautiful artwork too.
Yeah. So I just happened to stumble on that when I was researching the culture, because it was so ingrained. One of the periods of the culture is called the Bovidian, from the word bovine, the Bovidian period of the Tassili Plateau. So I was chasing down the mushroom shamans that also were featured in that culture. There's another picture in the book of a shaman with mushrooms growing off in the drawing that was done
from the cow dung
by Terence McKenna's wife.
Now, Chris, as many of us know, like 1967 with Snippy the horse in San Luis Valley, that kind of spurred on what we now know as the more current mutilations, right, going forward from 67. But as your 5 books suggest, there's so much to this phenomenon, just not cattle mutilations, but the trickster element, to the spiritual element, to the, the Sasquatch or the cryptid element. And, you opened a Pandora's box. I mean, that's...
Yeah.
There's no other way
I really had to, I don't like that people go around thinking they figured something out and then having blinders on and deep diving into a confirmation bias by only accepting data into their reality that conforms to their particular bias. To me, that's intellectual dishonesty. I don't want to point any fingers or name any names, but we all know who the people are that have been promoting the aliens are mutilating our cattle meme. I am the one that's responsible for all those images that you showed, Tara, before. I was the first one to put on the internet a photograph of a road sign warning people of open range with a cow, and above it, some kids had done a flying saucer.
Wow.
I put that online back in 96, I think, or 97.
Wow.
And since then, it has blossomed into this incredible, worldwide cultural meme.
Yeah.
I find it just fascinating. I was the first one to ever show people that there were only 2 of these signs.
Too bad you didn't copyright that.
I know. It's your $1 million idea.
But I have a question for you, because for me, just based on my own experiences, it's always been a question of how much is military involvement, how much is unknown phenomena. And, speaking with Richard Doty in Laughlin one time, I kind of cornered him and I wanted to ask him a couple questions. And he said that I should FOIA the agricultural office. And with all your research and the thousands of interviews you do, and I know it spreads further than New Mexico and Colorado, you must have been all through the Midwest, right?
Oh, yeah.
What's your take on the agricultural and the Air Force's connection to all this?
Well, again, I do my boilerplated response when people ask me, what's the bottom line? Who's doing this? Yeah. There are multiple groups with varying agendas, some divergent, some convergent. And they're doing this for a variety of reasons. I'm the first one to come up with, data that suggests that when rich, big ranches want to expand and they try to buy off the little guys surrounding them, back in the 70s, there were ranchers that were willing to terrorize these ranchers into selling by doing mutilations on their ranches. This is something that nobody has looked into. I have 3 county sheriffs that have gone on the record on video and said that a particular rancher in Costilla County was trying to drive ranchers into bankruptcy and selling their land by aiding and abetting helicopter crews that were going down and either shooting, stealing, or mutilating the rancher's cattle. This was back in 75. One rancher lost 49 head of livestock, shot, stolen, or mutilated in a 2-week period. We have a rancher that's been hit 200 times in Oregon that nobody has heard about. I'm not supposed to talk about it. I'm not supposed to give away any details. I'm chasing this weird error while installing thing across my screen.
I mean,
here.
that was just mentioned that John Malone, who owns the most land in the United States, is trying to buy up all these ranches out in Elbert County, and I want to know why. Why is John Malone buying up all our land?
That's a good thing to look into. And as far as the government goes, that's fine. I do think there's a body of evidence that suggests the government's been involved all along, either monitoring the situation and maybe mutilating a few cows to find out what the other ones are looking for, maybe doing their own sort of follow-up work. They're definitely monitoring the situation, but it's the beef industry. God forbid we should talk about the largest political lobby in this country, the most powerful lobby that you never, ever hear about, ever, unless you're Oprah, right? And you say, I'm never going to eat another hamburger again when you're doing a mad cow expose on Oprah's show. This is back in 99. The next day, she was sued for $2 billion by the beef industry. She fought it. It took her a year. She won, but it cost her $1 million to get the case thrown out of court. So I eat beef. I love beef.
Dairy.
I only eat beef that's grain fed. I don't eat industrialized beef protein, fast food hamburgers. McDonald's could have, by their own admission, up to 100 animals in a single burger. Other people have said up to 1,000 animals maybe in some processed McDonald's.
We're going to be sued by McDonald's now.
Well, you mean other than beef?
The problem is that the beef industry is the largest income producer in agriculture, okay? by far. And God forbid we should have prion disease break out in cattle herds in our beef industry. Prion disease is one of the most detrimental life forms and maladies that you can contract. It's 100% fatal. It can take up to 30, 40 years to incubate before it hits you.
Wow.
It may be the reason why we have had a 5,000% increase in dementia deaths in this country. Prions are misfolded proteins 1,000 times smaller than the smallest virus, which was the smallest life form. There's a problem with calling it a life form because you can't kill proteins. You can turn them off from misfolding, which is a prion disease, when all of a sudden the protein starts to fold and then it causes other proteins to fold. And what that does is it happens within nerve tissue and in the brain. And when this cascading effect happens, it can break up synaptic pathways. You forget to breathe. You forget your heart forgets, your brain forgets to tell your heart to beat. And eventually you die of terrible hardcore dementia symptoms. We have had outbreaks of mad cow disease in the modern era. In fact, in England, from 86 to 96, they had a whole scourge of cases, and then hoof and mouth disease broke out, which is the second most feared thing in rancher land. Yeah. And so when that happened, they said, "That's it." All the cattle in the Great Britain,
right.
Scotland, Ireland.
And we haven't even touched on. I mean, this doesn't just happen to cows, but horse, sheep, goat.
There's different types of spongiform encephalopathy. In humans, it's called Creutzfeldt-Jakob (CJD). Yeah, right. In deer and elk, it's called chronic wasting disease. In sheep, it's called scrapie.
Yeah. Well, I love the answer that it's not as simple. I think we all want a simple one thing.
I think the beef industry is involved in this. I think that they're sampling animals in beef herds around the world to make sure that we're not seeing any sort of outbreak of mad cow disease. I mean, it has a long incubation period. So, and there's other.
Would we cooperate with that?
Can we put up the mute map really quick? We only have a few minutes left. I just wanted to show something really quickly. Yeah. I mean, if you could speak on this just for a minute. I mean, look at that.
Now, each one of these M's is an area of high incidence. Those are not individual cases. Those are 5 or more animals.
Wow.
Now, look in Oregon. There's very few, right? Well, there is some suggestion, if you look at this map, that downwind and downstream of where we utilize uranium and fissionable materials, you'll notice a correlation where the M's are. There's the N's, which are nuclear plants, the U's, which are uranium mines. Mm-hmm. And there seems to be a downwind and downstream correlation that David Perkins saw early on in 79. Now, when we had the Fukushima event in 2011, we had a big plume come over and hit Northern California and Oregon. And I told David, I said, well, if your radiation theory is correct, then we should see an outbreak of cases in where we rarely have cases west of the Rockies. Mm-hmm. And sure enough, the next year, we saw the beginning of a wave that at last count has hit over 225 animals at last count. So there may be something to this environmental monitoring agenda theory that David came up with.
Right.
And also there's been suggestions that you can actually prospect for heavy metals and oil and gas by mutilating animals, taking their tongues and looking at the residual effects their environment has from eating the grasses. So, they may be prospecting. There may be a group that's prospecting in certain areas of the country and looking where they're going to find, viable mineral rights to go in and buy.
That's an interesting.
This is not a simple subject. It is head-achingly complex.
It is complex, and the more you learn, the more complex it gets.
Yeah, and if you have any sort of interest in this subject at all, there's only one book that even begins to cover any of it, and of course, it's my book.
Right. Stalking the herd. Right
It
here.
was 900 pages when I finished. I had to
Yeah,
take
it's
300
interesting.
out.
The interview that I
Full
just
of-
did, they talked about the School of Mines being on these ranches, 5 separate times digging for different materials and that. So the fact that you just mentioned that is kind of mind blowing to me. It's super
Yeah.
complex.
Yeah.
And I wish we had a whole nother couple hours with you, Chris. It's been a fantastic.
Well, I can always come
topic, and-
back when.
I would
when it
love
gets
for you to
slow.
come back. And
Yeah.
I have so many other questions from these books, like the cow
Once you get
found on the,
out of the doghouse for my pontificating earlier.
No, I
Very interesting.
Visualize ignorance and stupidity. Really, they make me itch in places I can't find where to scratch. So,
Are you going to be speaking anywhere, or where can people find your work? Do you have a website?
no, they don't. They don't invite me to speak anymore.
But I think you do have a
I rarely
website.
get invited out to speak. You would
Chris,
think with UFO DAP, just absolutely tearing up the field right now behind the scenes, that every UFO conference would want to find out more about it. But
Yes.
I haven't talked about UFO DAP since. Well, I don't know. I mentioned it at a couple of conferences that I've done in the last 3 years, but no one's beating down my ringing my phone and beating down my door to get me to
Well, that's
go out.
that's
I
their
don't.
loss.
Yeah,
I
it's a
don't
great
play-
idea.
But you
I
can
don't
go
play
to
the cutesy game with everybody.
ourstrangeplanet.com. Right. You could go to ourstrangeplanet.com to
Yeah.
learn more about Chris and his work, and check out, you can get all his books at Amazon. So I hope you purchase some of his books, all of his books. Follow Katie and get all 5 because they're great. And Chris, I appreciate having you on. Thank you, Tara. Thank you, Shane. Thank you, Chanel. And thank you to Bill Skywatcher and KGRA. Until next Tuesday night, I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your week. Keep looking up, keep reporting things to MUFON if you see them, and really do check out Christopher O'Brien's, new technologies. I think that's an important piece of the puzzle, and I'm super excited that all these high strangeness areas are doing scientific work, because I think you're right. It's all of that combined where we're going to find these answers, and Chris is on the front line of that and has been for a long time. And I appreciate your work more than you'll ever know. So thanks so much, and have a good week, everybody.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys.
Bye. Thank you.